White Sox, who sit one spot above them. So let's see real quickly. I'll pull up last year, and I will give you guys a comparison to see whether there's even an improvement here. And I do believe it's a few thousand. Last year, no. You know what? That's actually amazing to me. See, I would have been completely wrong about that. Nearly identical. They're averaging 200 fans a game more than they did last season. Well, of course, that's through 80 games, and there is time for that to go up a bit, but there's not enough games on the schedule to where, I mean, you'd have to draw 30,000 a game for the rest of what's left just to slant, just based on averages. There's not enough weight left to really slant and average too much. So you're really going to only change it a few hundred at best. But I'm surprised by that, to be honest with you. Not surprised by the low attendance. That's been a problem for years. But I am surprised that I want to go back one more year beyond that and see where they were for the 2012 season. I am surprised that last season did not at least increase, because when Mike Brandenberry and I were talking through the winter, I said I thought that it would increase the average attendance by about 2,000 fans a game, which it doesn't sound significant, but that's how you grow the number like that. I mean, it's gonna creep up little by little. 2 years back, going to 2012, which was not a good season at all, they averaged 19,797 fans. I mean, pretty much that is the fan base that they're working between here. Wow, I'm just amazed that this year was not in a tiny bit statistically different. That one just kind of threw me live on the air here. Yeah, pulling back up to this year's, and they're actually, I believe they are behind last year's average. I was comparing 13 to 12. The Indians, as it sits right now, are about 800 fans a game behind last year's average attendance. Now, that may average out, like I said, with those 17 games at home that are remaining, but still, that's nuts to me. Now, that's worse than just staying average. That's worse than growing a few thousand. You mean you win 92 games and go to the playoffs and average less fans the next season than you did the year before? And you know what? Guys in Tampa Bay are like, you're preaching to the choir. We're going to the playoffs every season, and we can't get 17,841 into the building every night. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. This debate way, way beyond me. Because when there's 27 things that are wrong, and each one of them is taking a percentage of the fan base away, even if you wanted to be real simplistic and say each one of them knocks 1,000 off of the average, that's where your 25,000 people go per game, man, is every one of those reasons that we've listed takes a slice off, and this one takes a slice off, and this one takes a slice off, and that's what's left, and I don't know. I don't have any other explanation. You look at the top and the teams, and you could say it's just money, and obviously the three teams that spend the most have the three highest averages attendance here in baseball. So I mean, obviously when you spend money, you do make more money than you do when you don't. But man, looking at the just the sellout percentages, the capacity, the Indians play to 43% of their park. Even Tampa, and they're lower than us on average, they play to 53% of their park. So they play to a full 10% of their capacity more than the Indians. The Indians are by far the lowest in baseball at the percentage of their capacity that they fill up with each game. I mean, and the next closest is Tampa and Chicago, and they do 52 and 53% respectively. So, and then it's a huge jump. Then everybody else is up into the low 50s, early 60s, and then on up. And then you look at the top team. St. Louis fills 99% of their capacity. The Dodgers average 46.7. That's only 83% because they have such a large stadium there. Yankees, 86%. The Giants fill 99% of capacity. Boston, 98.5%, So, I mean, and then you look even at Texas, a team, and this is where there is the argument to having stars and having a big budget payroll where it doesn't pay off on the field, but in the turnstiles, because On the field, Texas, Yankees having terrible seasons with the money that they've spent. We've talked about, Boston. And we've talked about that before. But yet they're averaging 34. But Texas is averaging almost 34,750, and Boston's at almost 36.5 per game. So, it speaks to the drawing aspect of being a bigger event. I don't want to use the word event, but a bigger money, and with that comes the name value. I think that's it as much as anything. Not just saying we have a $250 million payroll, but saying we have X big star. And baseball has less of those, with it being such big rosters, and that they have less of that to market to begin with. I think baseball, more than any other sport, I mean, you look at basketball, the stars are on one name levels. You got LeBron, you got Kobe, you got D Rose or D Wade or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They all have their but the stars are what's marketed in football. And in football, it's still more of a team thing, but they've done a good job at marketing their individual stars, which is surprising because so much of them is covered up. There's a lot of non-individualistic stuff about football because they're all covered up. They got the helmets. It makes it hard to see their faces and things like that. So they still market their individual stars, I mean, hey, you see it right here. I mean, yeah, he may be the backup quarterback, and whatever people feel about him here in Cleveland football-wise, but, John Manziel, it's a name that drives people in the media crazy, and they get that buzz stirring. So the NFL has guys like that too. Baseball does too, but none of them sniff anywhere near Cleveland or any of these small markets. I mean, yeah, you'll occasionally develop even a CC Sabathia or a David Price, but amongst baseball fans, yeah, CC was a big name. To me, CC Sabathia did not become a big star until he played in a bigger market. Regardless of how good you are, even being very good at the top of baseball, you're not a ticket-selling star. You're just not when you're on top of Tampa, when you're on top of Cleveland, those franchises like that. It's not just statistics, it's star value, and baseball's missing some of those, and the few that they have definitely aren't in this market. Nick Swisher, please, you got to spend star money to get Nick Swisher, but you didn't even get star value, and I'm not talking about on the field. You didn't even get the star value ticket bump, so those are all issues too, but that's just a couple of them. I mean, like we said, there's every one of those issues. The guys that want to sit on the couch because their expensive surround sound is better. Their television is more entertaining to watch. I can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. One day we had Bruce on the phone. He's like, man, I like watching it sometimes better at the house too. And he's the biggest Indians fan that there is out there, So, that is part of it. So that's a group of fans. You get the fans that say, well, we like what this team's doing better. The Browns are spending their money, or the Cavs are spending their money, or yay, LeBron's back. I'm going to go find my jersey and put it back on. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. There's that group of people. There's 20 different groups of these people. The ones that don't like the Dolans, the ones that don't like baseball, the ones that, you know what I mean? And so that's where the problem is that all of those fractured, splintered groups, it's why today in entertainment, niche marketing is so much more important. You'll see that's why Netflix is digging such a foothold into the entertainment market, and that's why now that's a place where you're starting to see original programming forget the cable. We're not going to sell it to a network. We're going to go sell it to Netflix, and Netflix has that exclusive property to drive people to their but it's niche now. Netflix built a living off of, hey, you like Breaking Bad? We've got every season here. Hey, you like True Detective or whatever it is? You like this movie, like that? We've got it, And they took these little niche markets and you add all of those together and you get the big one, Well, what happened with the Indians is the opposite. They fractured into all those little niche sections, and they're having the damnedest time trying to pull it all together again. And I don't know how you do it. But then again, I will say this to end that conversation is back in the 70s and 80s, somebody sat around and said, man, they can't draw flies in Cleveland with a pile of poop. I think baseball's dead in Cleveland. And somebody said, no, there's the fans are still there. We just have to figure out how to get them back to the ballpark. The fans are still here. but you got to figure out how to get them back to the ballpark. And greater men than me have tried and not come close, and I am definitely not the guy to do it. So that's a question for another day, and we can have that. And I'm sure we can talk about some of that tomorrow with Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. He'll be here tomorrow. The BSK, Kendall Lewis, back in the house tomorrow. He got himself a new landline. He said he's ready to rock and roll, so I'm looking forward to talking to him as we preview the Browns season from his perspective and get his NFL predictions as well. BJ Riddell will be with us, Fantasy Football for Winners, and I sent him the draft last night, was our fantasy football draft. I sent it to him. He's got a little breakdown for us there, and we will definitely get his thoughts on that as well. And he'll give you your sits and starts because tomorrow is the first game and football is on. Both real and fantasy football. It is all on tomorrow. So all of those guys in the house tomorrow. Real quickly, before I've got a caller on the hold here on the line, before we wrap things up, I was looking at the first high school rankings here around the area. And Kirtland, who I got a chance to see up close the other day. I told you guys about that when I called that game for 13:30. They are a beast. The team directly below them, I get a chance to see them too. So I'll get a firsthand comparison at two of the top teams out here amongst Northeast Ohio. Kirtland remains atop the Division 5, 6, 7 top 10 poll. Number 2, Villa Angela St. Joseph. I get to call them this weekend as they take on, I believe they're taking on Euclid. I don't have the paper in front of me, but I'm pretty sure my notes, I remember that they're taking on Euclid. Yeah, there it is. Yep, VA St. Joe's and Euclid this weekend. I'll be calling at 7 p.m. on Saturday, and you can hear it all on WINT 1330, WINTradio.com, or you can listen on TuneIn.com, just like many of you listen to the show. Go find the 1330 icon on TuneIn, and you can listen to us just like you do with the Sports Fix Saturday night. That'll be fun. Looking forward to bringing you some more high school football action. All right, you know what? I'm going to give you guys the final word here on the show before I call it a day. You got just a couple of minutes. Caller, what's happening?
J-Rock,
Hey, LG, what's up, man?
You know, J-Rock, all the baseball's down this year, man. 272,286 fans. 15 teams out of 30 have lower attendance in 2014 than they did in 2013. You know what I mean?
Well, that's part of it. That's when I talk about those
this
different
game
groups.
Needs to bring back the steroids, man. People want to see excitement. When you started getting into the steroid controversy,
No.
The attendance started falling, man.
I disagree. I believe the attendance didn't start falling because people stopped using steroids. The attendance started falling because people found out that they were being perpetrated a fraud upon, and a lot of people turned the sport for there. I believe that baseball actually lost some of its loyal fan base because of the steroid thing. Some of it that fabric of your fan base
people that think the game's
away.
Too tainted walked away is what you're saying.
Exactly, you know. I mean, but that's just...
Yeah, I can agree with that. J-Rock, but also some of the excitement factor of seeing all them home runs. People want to see, high-scoring, exciting baseball games. And steroids help some of them guys set some records, as we all know, unfortunately, as dirty as it was. But J-Rock, really, man, what's with Dan over there being Mr. Negative with the Browns going into Pittsburgh? He doesn't think, Brian Hoyer's collective career is riding on the line of this first game. Don't forget, we got Mike Pettin as the new Browns coach, man. I'm liking the chances coming into Pittsburgh this Sunday, baby.
Hey, I'm excited to see the game. I'm not really sure what Browns team we're going to see.
This ain't the Pittsburgh Steelers of old, man. They're struggling themselves.
I hear you there.
They're two back-to-back 8-8 seasons. If our defense can keep the pressure on Big Ben, we got 12 defensive backs on our roster. We ain't got a receiver. Hopefully these DBs can make some interceptions and possibly score some touchdowns. What do you think of that, J-Rock?
Well, that's just it. My question has nothing to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers because I don't think they're going to be great this year. My questions are all about the Browns, and I don't know what we're going to see. I can't wait for Sunday to see it because
we're going to be in for one heck of a surprise. That's what I'm thinking we're going to see.
Well, I hope you're
right. One way or the other, we're going to be surprised.
I still believe that one of the first 3 games is a very realistic goal. That is a very hard way to start the season. And I think that if they can go into the bye week 1 and 2, I'll be happy with that. I mean, of course, I'd like to see more, but I think if you can win one of those 3, then that's a good start to a season here with that. Hey, that's 2 Super Bowl aspirations.
You think that Jerry Jones brought Michael Samson to satisfy Whedon down there in Dallas?